Hello, John, my man. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for letting me come on with you.
Beautiful, and thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, John, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, my man, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. See, John, you are on this platform right now because you did invest it in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, John, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, John, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I used the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, my man, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it. Beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes now, John. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day, and I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing John that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insights, the impact your work is having, your journey, and how you are offering your solutions, my man. This stuff's so beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, John, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things John is doing. And not only me now, because I don't want to look selfish, and even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing John. So thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, my man, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, John.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thank you too. So let's get started, my man. You see, I am quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, John, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge alone, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness, ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible John on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, my man, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, high opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, my man, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, John, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how John got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, John, my man, over to you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. And let me say thank you for even doing these podcasts. I know how difficult it is to just take that leap and jump out there and make yourself vulnerable. And I thank you for that. Thank you for doing that because it really isn't about you. It's really more about how can we inspire people, How can we change their lives? And if we can change one or two, that's like a spark that can catch fire. And thank you for being a spark. Just wanted to
You
go there
too.
with it. Thank you. Personally, right now, I have two companies that I own now. One is called the Good Contractors List here in Dallas Fort Worth, and we just went national. So it's we're in a really amazing spot. Been working on this for 14 years now. You know my backstory, but right now, personally, and professionally, it's the greatest it's ever been. I have married, have 7 grandchildren. Pawpaw is one of my favorite titles. It's probably my favorite title of all times is having these lovely, beautiful children who love me and call me Pawpaw. So that professionally, my business has just boomed. It's called the Good Contractors List. We protect homeowners from bad contractors. We just separate the good contractors from the bad ones. We've been doing that for 14 years. And the thing that makes us way different is that every contractor, and we're talking about all home services like air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, landscaping, roofing, everything that you could get for your home. We have all those services, and we back every job they do with a $25,000 guarantee to the homeowner. So we use the guarantee to keep ourselves honest in who we choose to be on this list, because every one of those guys could cost us $25,000. And so we've been doing that for 14 years and have just kind of made this process great. I give God credit for all of it. It really is Him that started it. It's Him that's going to finish it. And He's in every day of my life, and every decision I make comes from that light, because that's the light that shines, man. And so I tell you, right now we are about to skyrocket, because we were in Dallas Fort Worth only. A few months ago, we decided we're going to go national. I have the infrastructure now to handle more contractors coming in. And we're in 17 states in 3 months. We've managed to have contractors in 17 states. So just really on our journey. And part of this is me getting to tell this story. And thank you for allowing me to do that.
This is really amazing, and thank you for the beautiful stuff you're doing. It's your wonderful company. And that's amazing, my man. So you see, I'm still a bit curious. So, how did you build a multi-million-dollar company with no money or connections?
Well, if it was me, I'd be like, oh, it'd be great because I was so educated and and I had so many connections, but I had none of that. I had no money. I had no experience in business. I really was at a place in 2011 where I was actually so disappointed in my life that I was praying that God would take me off the planet. I would pray daily, God, just, and I use the word kill me. I mean, it was that much. It was like, God, just kill me. I don't want to be here anymore. And I just had reached that point where I looked back and I was looking at my past, and all I could see was disappointment. It's like, even when I had a success, it didn't last very long. And while I was in the success, I couldn't even enjoy it because I knew it's just going to end up in disappointment. I'm going to end up disappointing somebody. And I don't know if anybody else lives their life like that, but I lived in my past always. I just kind of stayed there, and I was like, oh, there's 3 divorces behind me now. In 2011, I was 42 years old, had 3 divorces behind me, had just roller coaster life spiritually. I just didn't. I look back and I was just, I had no worth at that point. I didn't have any future. I didn't have any hope. I thought, I just don't want to be here anymore. And so in 2011, I ended up getting that opportunity to leave the planet. I ended up having a massive heart attack. And while I was in the hospital, I was thinking this is it. And but then I felt like God spoke to me. And this was a changing point in everything that's happened since. Is I heard in my spirit, it wasn't with my ears, but I heard so loudly, well, John, do you want to stay or do you want to go? And that was a big question, because I had been praying, God, kill me. Just take me off this planet. But what was louder than any voice that I'd heard, or even my inner voice, was, if you decide to stay, I'll be with you and I'll give you a purpose. And I think that's all I really wanted in life, was to have a purpose of some sort. I started thinking, now it's in my hands. I can choose to stay or go. I looked back again. Probably this is the last time I just really looked back at my past. And I was like, I haven't touched anybody in a positive way. It doesn't feel like. I've got people who will think I'm, I remember John, he was a nice guy. I have daughters that I love. And at that time they were getting older, kind of moving out, starting their own families, and, and so I was like, they'll miss me, but, they'll get over it, I'm sure. I was just kind of at that place. But if I had a purpose, I think I want to stay. And so I finally came back to God and I said, listen, I'd like to stay if it's okay with you, but I wanted to have three things that I'd ask for. I said, I want to be remembered for doing something good. I want to live every day, not just be alive. And I want to touch as many lives as I can while I remain on this planet. And it was like God showed up, and louder than anything I'd ever heard was, so be it. Like, it rattled me. And felt that energy of, I felt his presence in the room. They were preparing me for a angiogram, where they put the dye up in your heart so they can see what happened. But I'd had such a massive heart attack. They just really weren't expecting me to live. And the cardiologist made it in. They pumped the dye up there, and sure enough, I had 100% blockage in one artery and 95% blockage in the other. There was literally just a little bit of blood going through, and I'd suffered a massive heart attack. So just under half of my heart was scar tissue from then on. But I left that hospital. I was still in the same job I was in. I was still broke. I was still living with my girlfriend at the time, and I probably would have been homeless if I didn't have a girlfriend at that time. That's where I was. And so as soon as I got out of the hospital, me and my girlfriend got married. We ended up getting married. And every day, all I could do is go, God, you said it, that you would be with me and I would have a purpose. Show me what that is today. And I stopped looking in the back. I stopped looking in the past. I stopped trying to figure out, look at that disappointment anymore. I had a purpose now. So while I was in the same condition and worse now that I had a heart attack, the one thing that had changed is that I walked out with purpose. And I think that's where people really need to get in their lives, is to realize that they have value. At that point, I was probably at my lowest. I didn't know who I had value with. Literally everyone I felt could just move on. I would have left no mark on the world. And so from that moment on, that's what I did. I didn't conceive any of this stuff in my mind. It was my complete dedication to letting myself go and letting God take me where he wanted me to go, because I didn't know anything, had no idea contractors would be involved in my life, and all of a sudden, 6 months in, I'm out. Actually, at the time I was selling coupons. Those, there's a thing called Money Mailer here. That's an envelope that goes to homes, and they put a bunch of coupons in them. And so I was selling coupons at the time, and I met with a plumber that said, I really don't want to spend this much money by myself. He goes, but I know a really good electrician, and I know a really good roofer that I trust. And they're really good. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? It would be cool if you could have a website where you were the plumber, they could be the electrician, and it would be just a group of good contractors that, that took care of each other, that, made sure that everybody did what they were supposed to do. And it was just a group of people versus just, you guys out there by yourself. And so I was still thinking about how I could create a coupon that they could all, share, their own money to buy. For the next 2 days, I couldn't sleep, man. It was like God kept just downloading this idea and all the thoughts and stuff. And it was coming alive in me. And I finally I went into my boss's office and said, I apologize, but I've got an idea that I feel like I'm supposed to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't have any experience in this, but I have to start my own business, and I'm going to have to let you go. I've got to quit. And so I walked out, no money in the bank, no savings, one more paycheck coming from them, and that was it. And but I walked out, and in the beginning I had nothing. I had a yellow legal pad and a pen, and I drove, and I started at these contractors, just started talking about, I want to create a good list of contractors where they'll protect homeowners, and God had given me the idea that I'm going to hold myself responsible for that. So we're not only going to make a list of contractors, I'm going to guarantee that to the homeowner that your work's going to be good, or I'm going to have to pay for it. And then all of a sudden you start seeing these contractors coming and saying, hey, I know who you need to have for your landscaper. I know who you need to have for this. And so they started all coming together, and we started creating this group together. Like it just took a life of its own. And I was sitting here, I didn't have contracts. I had to go into Word and make a contract, so people would sign up and they would give me money to hold their spot. And about 2 years later, it took about 2 years, but I ended up having enough contractors that agreed to be a part of it, that we bought our first. I'd never made more than $50,000 in a year. Maybe one time that I eked past that amount. So we started our first month. Well, let me tell you this. The month before we started what I called phase 2, when I started advertising for those guys, I had to get a payday loan to make my car payment still, because we were just shoestringing this whole thing. So I called everybody back, said, if you're in or you're out, we're going to be moving up to this higher payment so that we can start our advertising. And, in March of 2014, we ran our first $50,000 a month advertising budget. $50,000 a month. And then it's just climbed since then. It's like, so I wish I could bring some wisdom to your people, to the audience on strategies and all these different things. But all I can say is that I followed my heart, because God was leading me down every path. He was showing me what needed to be done. And I was having to follow, because I had no idea how to do any of that stuff. And so as much as I love my business, and as much as I love the life that I have now and everything in it, I'm still ready to go any day. I'm still ready to go where He wants me to go. And if today's my last day, I know that I fulfilled the purpose that He had me on the planet for. And I think that's where people need to be, is like, just know right now where you are, even if it looks bleak, you are fulfilling God's purpose. He's got you. And if you will just get out of your past, stop looking at your future, and be in the now with Him, thankful, grateful, your life will change. It will.
That's so true and very correct. And thank you so very much for sharing that, John. That was a beautiful one, I tell you. Life without purpose is really meaningless. I was once in that situation where I became frustrated. I was almost tired of life. What exactly am I living for? Until the Holy Spirit came into the picture and helped me. So I can relate so well. Thank you so very much for sharing that. So, you talked about God ensuring that you live a life that will be remembered, like legacy. So what do you want your legacy to be? Can you talk to us about that?
Well, just those 3 things that I said. What's kind of funny is that I started out in a small town, it's Mansfield, Texas. And my first website that I created was specifically for Mansfield. And I thought I would be going around building multiple websites for all these little different cities. And so then I started thinking, and one of the things that probably makes me different than any other business that's out there is that I did not come into this with a business mind. And so I was able to create a business where I limited the number of people who could come in and give me money. And I elevated the risk by putting a guarantee on all these contractors. And so what I didn't realize at the time was I was actually creating a movement. And I didn't know it really until just recently, because we grew very quickly. We were just here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so I've been doing a lot of other things, and the company's just kind of it's just taken care of itself for a lot of years. But now the legacy that I want to leave is that I want at least the nation, and I feel like it could be greater than that. I just feel like the impact that God could have through this one vessel could change a lot of lives. And I'm not talking about just protect them from bad contractors. I'm talking about change some lives, because there's a lot of people who just need to let go. And what I want, whenever I leave this planet, what I want people to be able to say is not, oh, he created a great business. I want them to say, this man was the genuine deal. Like, everything he did was out of his heart and his love for the Lord, his love for people, and his desire to see the kingdom of God grow. And that's really my ultimate. If I could leave a legacy, that's what I want. Is that there's going to be some people who will decide to stop trying to do it on their own, and stop doing things their way, and stop worshiping themselves, and start worshiping the one that can get them everything they want in life. Literally everything you could ever want is wrapped up in Jesus.
That's so true, my man. And you are using some very powerful keywords. I love that. That's a brilliant one. Okay, John. So to bring this to an end, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
Well, like I said, this has really become a movement. And if you're here in the United States, we plan on being everywhere. So if you're a homeowner and you would like to have what we call a safe contractor community in your area, and a contractor that is honest, has integrity, will do things right, go to the Good Contractors List, thegoodcontractorslist.com, and refer that contractor. It really only takes a spark to get things growing, because as soon as I find that good contractor, they know other good contractors, and we will start building a network there. Every contractor will be backed by a $25,000 guarantee. So you will never, as a homeowner, be left holding the bag. And we've been doing this now for 14 years. $5 billion we've covered so far in jobs like that we've protected people from, but we've only had to come out of pocket $127,000 in 14 years. So our process is good. And so if you want a safe contractor community in your area, refer a contractor. If you're a contractor that hearing this by chance, then go to thegoodcontractorslist.com and look at Become a Good Contractor. And that's how you get a hold of me. That's how you be a part of my business. And other than that, I just pray that everyone hearing this can just for a moment say, I know I don't have it all. And even though things might look bleak, things might look bad, God, I just want to know who you are. And start from there. You don't have to have this idea of like, now I've got to start doing this, and this. God loves you. Jesus loves you right where you are. No matter how deep that valley is, he's there. All you have to do is say, God, I want to know who you are. He will start showing you who he is, and then lean on him, and he'll take you wherever he wants you to go. And it's way better than what you can.
Yeah, I tell you. And that's a great one. That's so true. So that's going to be the end of the show, John. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. You see, one of the things I truly love about you and I appreciate is the fact that you are not taking the credit. You're giving it all to God, and that's so beautiful. Thank you so very much, and thank you for coming once again.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.